connection. I want to talk about a little bit about connection, what that is. I'll try and explain it a little bit from my perspective anyway. I like to think of connection as the ability to have a conversation with any being without words, without touch, but without words, but you know that it is honest because it can't be anything else. So I had a conversation with a donkey that belongs to in a herd that a friend of mine has, and she's relatively new to the herd, and Nej came along. This is Nej came along in that conversation and provided a sense of acceptance and nurturing. There's a fence there, darling. And then later on in that conversation, the lead donkey of the herd also joined the conversation. So it was a sort of connected conversation between the three of them where I was allowed to witness. But there was also maybe the instigator in a way. It's not about us as humans. We are not here to create connection, because connection is there. We're here to learn about it again, learn the depths of it, learn how to have those conversations, because we've lost how to do that. We've lost how to be connected to ourselves and know that we are allowed to have feelings. We're allowed to feel pain and grief and sadness and joy and love and excitement. You know, these are feelings that we have in the present moment. It's only when we allow those feelings, particularly the ones that create fear, to take over our connection, to draw us inwards instead of letting them go and connecting outwards, for one way of putting it anyway. Its connections are two-way. They are a circle. So what you feel is what you put out. So if you feel joy, and it's honest joy, it comes from the heart and from from all the energy centers within you. Then that joy transfers, that joy goes out into the energy, goes out into the conversation, and you can feel it. And the same goes with anger and fear and sadness. Playfulness. If you feel giggly and playful. That's a lovely emotion to have in the present that sends out its ripples. But if you send out fear, that fear also ripples. It has an effect. And there's a lot of that going on in the world at the moment. Shared fear. And most of this fear is not based in truth, because most of this fear is about what might happen. And as we share our fear of what might happen, it makes others fearful. It can make our animals fearful. It can be so strong sometimes that our domesticated animals, those who can't get away from our feelings, and dogs really suffer with this, is it can cause them to go inside. And the longer we hold on to it, the longer we force those feelings onto others. And it's, in a way, we spend probably a couple of hours out of every 24 with our horses. Those of us that are privileged enough to have them in our lives. They are bringers of balance, but they also, feel what we feel. If we come out stressed to see them, they'll feel that stress. And if we don't release that stress, and they can help us do that. They always offer to help us do that. But they will also share it. And if we constantly barrage them with that sort of, with fear or stress or anxiety, they will start to block us, because they don't want to feel it themselves. And and the more and more we do that, the more they will go internalized. And I get a feeling that this conversation I had with this donkey was a little bit around that. This was my learning of that conversation. You can read the conversation on the website. But for me, it was about learning, number one, that a connected conversation is not only two-way. It includes everything. It includes the environment, the wind, the sun, the elements, water, fire, and all of those. It includes the earth. To me, be nice. See, you can't change their physical herd instincts. That's what they do. And just as an aside, I just love watching them and talking with them. It's a few days since I've been, I say it's a long time, it feels like a long time because so much has happened since I've been out with them in the field just talking. They're amazing because they listen. Their energy is all connected into this conversation. Even if their physical is not. Their physical does what their physical does. And in the same way as us, we are physical beings, we are human. Our main purpose is to learn to connect with everything else. We have forgotten that. In a way, you can't kill what you love, and I don't mean that in a slaughtering animal sense or anything like that specifically. It's part of it, but it does sort of, where has the love gone that we can actually, as human beings, kill each other, let alone other animals or other beings? How can we kill each other? How can we kill this planet? Do we not love anymore? Where does love come from? Love comes from our hearts, our individual hearts. It is all around us, and if we don't accept it or we don't give it, we cannot be love. And it's as important to accept it as it is to give. The other thing that's come up for me quite a bit this last week is coming home, being home. Home is where the heart is, literally. And this has come into my sort of space, I think, because I'm going travelling in a couple of weeks, for a couple of weeks, and I'm going with somebody who doesn't like to travel, wants the destination, but it struggles with the actual journey. And that's quite interesting for me, because I always have been the opposite. I enjoy the journey, enjoy travelling, enjoy moving. And what I've done over the years to try and be part of society is curbed that quite a lot. And of course we've all had the COVID issue and everything, which curbed our travelling completely. And even my husband sort of says, well, you can't keep travelling, you've got 5 horses. But I always find a way. They don't mind if I go away. Because we're connected, and I've got somebody who physically looks after them really well, so I'm very lucky. But when you're away, you can connect. I do connect, and actually my next trip is with a group of people, and I can travel, but I like to be, I'm not very good with groups of people when thrown into groups of people. I don't know if that's because I sort of sense what I sense from people, and I know this is part of being social, as the way we should define it, or we do define it in society, human society, is that being social is about, small talk, telling people what they want to hear. But I struggle with that. I always have. And I shut down. I go in. And it's going to be quite a challenge for me this trip, because I've been working a lot with Timmy, who also shuts down from feelings, goes inwards. I think it's about knowing. What they've shown me is that I can connect with them anytime I feel anything but joy. I can feel, but also I need to feel my feelings. The last time I was in a group of people, it was a little course, and the lady who was running the course, she said, you need to protect yourself from the feelings. But you know what? That didn't feel right for me. Protection. Protect myself. I don't want to protect myself. If I wanted to protect myself, I'd end up being exactly as Timmy is. And I have done. And that is about withdrawing inwards. Protecting yourself from feelings. I don't think that's the way forward. If we need to become more connected, then we need to know that those that are connected are not protecting themselves from those that are not. And that leads me to something else. It's how can I help? You know, I do struggle a little bit with how can I help. You open a little door, and sometimes that little bit of light can bring up a lot of fear for people. But I suppose if we keep opening the door, and keep showing that being present, accepting without judgment, loving without condition, and always seeking the truth rather than living in a story, is home. A mate suggested that I mentioned that I thought I was some sort of nomad in a past life because I do like to journey, and I fell into that just to see if there was something. She suggested that she asked me, am I searching for something? And I don't think it's that, because it doesn't feel like I'm searching for something. But then again, am I searching for a way of helping? Maybe we're always searching for something. Instead of just being here, that's maybe human nature. Being right here, right now. Can leave us feeling a little bit, well, is that it? And maybe it is. I think, what I find every time I accept exactly where I am, something else comes into my awareness. It could be a couple of days or the next hour, or as I go for a walk in a minute. Something else will come into my awareness to put me on the next path. And that path could be a couple of steps, or it could be a week, or it could be a feeling, or something I need to do. But the more I follow it, the more I find that path feels right. Perfect. Exactly is what is needed. It feels good. Yeah, because when I use the word right there, it feels right. I then wanted to retract that word because I instantly felt something in my body saying there is no right or wrong. There's no wrong path and there's no right path. There's just a path. And it's the path that we choose. We choose everything. We choose the way we feel about things. And to believe that you do not have a choice to feel any way you want to feel is a story. Is a story that needs dropping, and the way to drop that story is to come home. Come back to yourself, back to your heart, back to your body. Feel what that story is doing to your body and work with what you need to release. Now, that's a huge thing to do sometimes. Sometimes it's even difficult to figure out what the story is because it can be so many different aspects of things. And we are working with helping on the website with helping you find ways of breaking these things down, making them into smaller manageable steps in the same way that we work with our animals. When we have a connection with our animals, sometimes we need to do something so for their health and welfare, such as getting a head collar on peacefully without a fight. It can be a challenge, particularly if you've rescued a horse and let him go in the field and now you can't catch him. So it can be a challenge, and it's not about having the argument every time. That's a story, because that's a belief you have that this horse will never have a head collar on, and by having that belief, that story, you're just amplifying it all of the time. So what we can do, Animal Connection and Beyond, is help you break down those stories until you come back to a step, one step that can move you forward onto a different path, change your perspective, change the way you look at things. And it's so much easier to do that when you can talk it through with somebody. So much easier. If you can't talk it through with yourself, find somebody to talk it through with. And the more you connect with yourself and with somebody else to help you break down those stories, the more you learn about how to break down those stories, how to become more connected and how to become more peaceful. And then you can start to work with your own feelings. And it's a journey. The nomad in me comes out again. It's a journey. I love a journey. There's no end. There's no beginning. That is just a story. It's just a journey. A journey home. Thank you.